Welcome to the Flame University's masterclass, where we are going to do the second version of the second webinar on entrepreneur thinking for the new age manager. We have the speaker, Professor Bharat Damani, who's a faculty of entrepreneurship at Flame University. Before I delve into introducing Professor Bharat Damani and Professor Neeraj, I would like to just let you guys know that the chat box is disabled, so is the raise hand option. The Q&A box is available for you guys to put in your questions. Professor Bharat Damani will take the questions accordingly after the presentation. I'd like to ask Professor Neeraj to kindly do the introduction of Professor Bharat Damani, please.
Thank you, Bhakia. Thank you so much for that. Very good evening to Bharat sir and all of you who have joined in for the second session of the second season of masterclass that we have started at Flame University. It's my privilege and honor to introduce Professor Bharat Damani and this young, smiling faculty that you see in front of us is one of the most loved of the students of entrepreneurship here at Flame University. Professor Bharat Damani has had over 30 odd years of experience in various different kinds of backgrounds, including an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur himself, working with a lot of entrepreneurs, consulting with blue chip companies like McKinsey, Sunomitsu, Banking Corporation, CCOM, the government, the small industries wing. So Dr. Bharat has this unique blend of entrepreneurship himself, having worked in the corporate sector, consulted with entrepreneurs, and also done research in entrepreneurship himself. So I think we have no better person today than to take us through the aptly able title that he has so kindly decided to speak to us on: entrepreneurial thinking for the new age manager. I will now be handing it over to Bharat sir, but once again, on behalf of Flame University, and I would like to thank him for coming over and graciously agreeing to take this webinar. Bharat sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Neeraj, for the kind words and especially for endorsing that I'm very young with 30 years of experience. So it makes me feel much better. Thank you. And the standard that you have set, I'm sure I have a uphill task in front of me. But nevertheless, as goes my style, I'll keep it simple and I'll keep it to the point. Okay, so
Right.
let me share my screen. There you go. So let's first be clear as to what we mean by the new entrepreneurial thinking for the new age manager. So those of you who attended our previous session of the second series of the masterclass, which was on 4th of December, the Dean of the Flame School of Business, Professor Dwarika Prasad Unyal, had spoken at length on the skills required for the new age manager. And I'm not going into those details, but I've just captured them here for continuity and for your quick reference. Now, many of these skills that you see listed out here are not actually taught in any of the B schools as a course. A few of them are part of a course, but many of them are personal skills which you need to develop along the way. And unfortunately, in the Indian education system, we don't really have a proper technique of how we can develop some of these life and career progression skills. So we have to always look for something more, something additional, that 1% beyond 100%, which makes all the difference, and so on and so forth. So instead of going into those complications, coming from an entrepreneurial thought process and background, I just try to keep it simple and say there are certain things that each one of us can do without actually worrying too much. So let us go straight into that and let us see what it is all about. So let us first understand that entrepreneurs have a different mindset uh, compared to the common man or the general person who is job oriented, career oriented, safety oriented, and so on. The entrepreneurs have a mindset where they actually identify possibilities and they don't get bogged down by the problems. And what better situation than the COVID times when the entire world went into a lockdown? Everybody was scared, anxious, didn't know what to do, how to do, complaining, cribbing. Whereas entrepreneurs were looking at the future, they were looking at what can they do, not only to uh, help other people, but also to introduce new technologies and methodologies by which the world can come back into its economic mainstream. So a lot of these online solutions cropped up, and people went out of the way to help each other. A lot of innovation happened on using technology, internet, and people actually poured their hearts out with all kinds of online support into any area that you could think of, including things like physical fitness, motivation, yoga, sports. Everything was available online so that people at home did not end up in depressions and things like that. So, whether we know it or not, our happiness is often provided by these entrepreneurs who think differently and who think for the better world. So, that's what entrepreneurs do. They look at possibilities, and along with possibilities, the corollary is that they always look for change. Whenever there's an opportunity, whenever there's a need, they are the first people to look for change. Not only look for it, but they actually go, not only talk about the change, but they actually go and execute the change. A lot of people talk that this should be done, that should be done. We are armchair experts. Entrepreneurs don't talk much. They straight away go into action and make their customers, make the society a better place. Likewise, entrepreneurs are never limited by what they have. uh, they always seek resources, they always seek partnerships, they always seek how solutions can be found, how they can grow, how they can scale, and how things can be done in spite of the limitations. So that's the uniqueness of entrepreneurs. So the first and most important part for the new age manager is that you must develop an entrepreneurial thought process, and you have to, the earlier you get rid of your safety oriented or that job oriented thought process, the better it is, especially in the times to come. Why do I say that? The lockdown made people work from home, but made companies realize that the conventional KRAs that are used for your annual appraisal are no longer valid, are no longer relevant. What is important is result orientation. So in the work from home scenario where you have been given the flexibility of managing a schedule, there is no micromanagement, there is no day-to-day management. The company is saying, okay, we respect your difficult times, we respect you working from home, but since we are employed, uh, what we are focusing on is the end result. So long as you can deliver, how you get the work done, we leave it to you, we give you the freedom. Now, you have already read in the papers that many companies are happy to continue this work from home scenario even though the lockdown has been lifted in bits and parts. A lot of companies have already declared that at least till March 31st, 2021, we will continue with work from home. Now, the flip side of the work from home is also that companies have realized that they are actually saving a whole lot of expenses and overheads and costs, which has indirectly given them more profits. So whether we like it or not, work from home is here to stay in various forms. And the consequences of work from home are that employees will now have no choice but to look at result orientation, and not the paperwork or the micromanagement that was happening in the past will no longer be prevalent. So in this scenario, let us see how things can be done, and I'll share with you small little tips which will help you uh, become the new age manager. So what do many people do? I mean, funny questions to ask. So let us understand what many people do. They just do nothing. They sit back, they talk, do nothing. What do many people think? Many people think that nothing can be done. It's impossible. So you must have read, you must have experienced, you must have seen around yourself. There are a big chunk of people, a huge percentage of people who will always say nothing can be done. They will do nothing and they will always say it's impossible. Now, in the same scenario, what does the entrepreneur think? Entrepreneur looks at the scenario, looks at the bits and pieces, combines them in unique ways, and comes out with solutions. So the difficult times that are experienced by people, the entrepreneur, rearranges them, refocuses them, realigns them, and creates value out of it. And this value is what is treasured by the people who benefit from it. So this is the first principle. Look for solutions within your available resources, and with your available resources, you can virtually do whatever you want. Very common problem. We all know New Year time is coming. New Year time is also the time for making New Year resolutions, which are made in the right earnest. And very soon, in less than a week, we all know what happens to those resolutions. And one of the most common resolution is, I want to improve my health. Now, how does an entrepreneur address this situation? Now, entrepreneurs recognize that people behave in this manner. So if people behave in this manner, then they make resolutions and they don't live up to them, or they will always find excuses not to go to the gym, or not to follow a fitness regime, or not to be diet conscious, and so on and so forth. So entrepreneurs are constantly looking for ways and means to innovate and come out with interesting and exciting solutions that can be easily accepted, solutions that customers would love to follow. So let us see an example of uh, this kind of a solution.
Bharat sir, audio is not shared.
Yeah, the audio is not there right now. It will come a little later. Okay. Now you see how entrepreneurs think and create fun situations and excitement so that people overcome their hesitancies and difficult mindsets. Let's look at another example how you cultivate the mindset. And mindset is something which is the starting point of entrepreneurship. If you don't have the right mindset, you cannot become an entrepreneur. If you tend to do something without a mindset, very soon you will have to shut down. There are enough case examples, there are enough theories on this. So let's not go into that detail right now. But whenever we take sessions on entrepreneurship or whenever we do mentoring to entrepreneurs, one of the first things that we look at, or even investors look at, is do they really think entrepreneurially? Now, we've already seen what thinking entrepreneurially means. Now, let us see further as to how an entrepreneur will look at a situation and come out with another, kind of solution. So the first step is that a lot of people say, "I won't do it." How many times have you come across that situation? They will not even look at you. They'll not even cooperate with you. They will just be, continuously saying, "I just won't do it." And then if things happen, if that mentoring or that cajoling or that encouragement, then they will start opening up and say, "Oh, come on, yeah, it's not that I won't do it. The thing is that I can't do it." And then slowly, the mindset will change from I won't do it to I can't do it to I want to do it, and then it starts improving to how do I do it? I'll try to do it. I can do it. I will do it. And the minute you reach that I will do it, the next step, which is yes, I did it, is just waiting to happen. Now, the first time doing it the first time is the most challenging. It's follow the Newton's law of inertia. But once you have changed, once you have done it once, you are always motivated to do it one more time and one more time and one more time. That is why once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. Once an entrepreneur, they become serial entrepreneurs. So, and it's real fun. So cultivating the mindset is the starting point. Once you have the mindset, nobody can stop you. So how do you solve a difficult problem?
South Korea, a country devoid of oil. Seoul, a city where 1/4 of Koreans live, with one of the world's highest gasoline consumption. The situation is getting worse. Car usage is increasing. Petroleum costs are rising. Parking spaces are scarce. People are stressed out. Every day, a Seoul driver wanders 500 meters to find a parking space. In a month, this equals 15 kilometers or 1 liter of gas. S-Oil, one of the 4 oil companies in Korea, took action. It is on a mission to save oil. Right here, right now. Thus begins the HERE campaign. It has set up a HERE balloon for each parking space. As a car parks in it, the balloon falls. When the car exits, the balloon rises. Cars can spot these balloons from afar. They can spot open parking spaces without wandering. Finding quick parking means saving oil. One easily spotted parking spot is worth 1 liter of oil saved.
교육하실 때 엄마들은 한번 먹어볼 만큼 경제적인 게 없다고 그러잖아요.
딱 이정표가 있으니까 참 뭐 좋은 아이디어 같아요.
세상에서 항상 가니까 힘들고.
교수 없었으면 못 들었거든요.
HERE balloons have saved drivers' gas expenses through a new and interesting method. S-Oil, the oil seller, gained the impression of an oil-saving company. Save oil, save time, save money. HERE, taking action for a better world. Save oil, save Earth. S-Oil.
A very difficult problem, a commonly experienced problem by everyone. People talk about it and they say it's impossible. An entrepreneurial mindset will look at the situation differently and think how various resources, various, let's say, experiences of the customer can be integrated and yet create branding for the company in a very, very simple and cost effective manner. You don't need to be a technocrat. You don't need to be a big flying engineer to come out with innovation. Innovation can be done in the simplest of manners. We've seen it right here in this example, how a very complex problem of parking can be solved with a very simple solution. And that solution also creates fun, as in the earlier example. It creates fun, it is easy to implement, low cost, and look at the amount of branding that SOI is able to create for itself. And the message that it has wound up around the entire scenario helps bring the consciousness in the minds of the people that it's not just about saving oil, but it's also about saving yourself from anxiety and the earth from the various pollution problems that we ourselves have created. So this is what the entrepreneur does. They look at the entire problem and the solution in a holistic manner, and they come out with amazingly simple solutions, which in hindsight, people would say, oh, what's so great in it? Even I could have done it. So that's where we go back to the earlier opening statement where we said a lot of people say, they just do nothing. They only keep talking. When it comes to action, it's the entrepreneurs who go into action and they solve this. It is impossible kind of a situation into something which can literally transform the way people behave or they change people's habits. So again, that's an example of the entrepreneurial mindset in the new age. Let's go forward. We've already seen a glimpse of resource management in this example, where the available resources. All you have to do was look at them differently, define them differently, and look at possibilities which could be implemented without creating too much of disruption. So let's look at another situation. A lot of people say that we don't have resources. If I have resources, only then I will be able to do certain things. So again, these are the people who talk, but don't do anything. They just do nothing. And again, do you really require more resources? So all those who are have heard of entrepreneurship, have followed entrepreneurship principles, will acknowledge that there is something known as effectuation. And effectuation, actually, if you understand and implement the principles of effectuation, you will realize that with whatever little or available resources you have, you can still do a huge difference in the lives of the people around you. So it's not a question of available resources, it's a question of what do you do with the available resources. So resources are there. Only thing is, have you identified them? Have you recognized them? And are you actually using them effectively? So let us see. This is what happens in most situations. The resources are there. They're all around you. What do you do with them? So when it is put in the right perspective, you immediately know what is the answer. But who puts it in the right perspective? It's the person with the entrepreneurial mindset. So let's look at another one more example. Innovation often is said to be very expensive. Need not always be so. There are ways by which you can do frugal innovation. You can do again innovation with available resources. You can do innovation to suit the situation and the problem that you are intending to solve. So let us see. Sorry. Oh my, sorry. Okay. So you see again an example where entrepreneurs think differently, and in spite of difficulties, they keep going, they find solutions till they achieve what they intended to achieve. And it is this journey which motivates more and more entrepreneurs to come out with innovative solutions. So what happens when you go into entrepreneurial action? So many of you must have experienced this. If you have tried the entrepreneurial journey, first people ignore you, they laugh at you, they make fun of you. They will even try to stop you. They will even try to do things to scuttle what you are intending to do. But since you persevere, you continue your efforts, you continuously find ways and means to keep going and to go towards your goal. Ultimately, you achieve your goal, you become successful, you are able to demonstrate the benefits to the people, and that's when they make you a hero. So, entrepreneurial journey by no means is simple, but at the same time, it all begins with a mindset, and it all begins with a strong desire to make a change in society. And that, as we have seen earlier, is all a complex but simple combination of various resources available to you put into a synchronized manner towards a common goal. Now, when do you start your entrepreneurial journey? If possible, I would recommend You start the entrepreneurial journey as early as possible, ideally when you are still a student. Why? See, the student is the most beautiful part of your life. As a student, each and every person around you is there to help you, encourage you, motivate you, and try and inculcate in you that you can be successful. And therefore, as a student, if you embark on this journey, everyone around you is there to support you. But the minute you complete your studies and you get out of the student or education ecosystem, a lot of people will say, why should I help you? What is in it for me? If I do this, what will you give me? And so on and so forth. Now, the real part of this message is that the initial failures of an entrepreneur are never talked about. To become successful, it is necessary to face obstacles. And in many cases, people actually fail. But the mindset of the entrepreneur is such that failure is never fatal. Failure is just a stepping stone for the next venture. And therefore, when I do mentoring with people, whether it is a student or whether it is a first time entrepreneur, my advice to them is, my guidance to them is, your first 5 ventures, please consider them as net practice. Unless you do net practice, unless you become good at net practice, you will not be equipped enough for the real match. And therefore, if I'm saying your first 5 ventures, when would you like to do your first 5 ventures? The earlier you do it, the better. You do it at a time when your loss is the least, that's the best. You do it at a time when the ecosystem is there, which encourages you even if you fail, that's the best. So that is the time as a student where you can really take the benefit of both academics, the campus life if you're staying on a campus, the university university infrastructure if it is available to you, and also the entire support of your family, your friends, your well-wishers, acquaintances, everybody there to support you. So start your journey as early as possible and just ensure that you have to keep going. Failure is normal. The entrepreneurial startup mortality rate, many of you are aware, in the first 3 years, 90% of the startups shut down. But that shutting down is not branded as failure. Whereas in the student ecosystem, you fail a course in the Indian culture, in the Indian society. Oh, your son has failed a particular course. Your son has failed a year in college. So bad. Your son is not up to the mark, etc. etc. Those were things of the past. Today, things are improving, things are changing. Because of the entrepreneurial ecosystem coming and being accepted in our society, what is happening is lots of opportunities have opened up. People are looking at aptitude oriented learning. People are looking at wider learning. People are looking at liberal learning environments, and liberal education has taken off in a big way. So acceptance of failure is becoming normal. Entrepreneurs are also being welcomed. And therefore, the earlier you start your entrepreneurial journey, the better it is for your later times in life. Now, why do I say this statement? We all know in the 60s and 70s, people used to join a particular company, or even prior to that, people used to join a company and retire from that company and sometimes even after retirement continue to work for that company. Then came a time when the retirement age was formalized, and at the age of, let's say, 60 years, people retired and then lived a retired life. But then, as times changed, as people move forward, gone are the days where people are loyal to a company. Gone are the days where you join a company and retire from that same company at the age of 60. People started changing jobs and they started looking for alternate opportunities. So what happened was, by the time they retired, they had possibly changed 4 to 5 jobs. A few years ago, if you see, the average time span in a company has come down even further, and every 3 years, people are now changing jobs. So if your life span in a career or in a job situation is 35 to 40 years, then you are likely to change around 12 jobs. So that is the normal. But go one step further. What has happened now? The companies have recognized that employees are no longer loyal. Every 3 years, they want to change jobs. So companies are also saying that, look here, we cannot afford you any longer, because as you keep changing jobs, your salaries are going up, but so is the change in technology. Now, are you keeping pace with the technology, with the new ways of doing things? Now, if you're not keeping pace with the new ways of doing things, I'm getting fresh youngsters who are better equipped in technology, who are more open to using technology, and they may be fresh, doesn't matter. But if I'm able to train them, or even if I get a few people with a little bit of experience, I'm getting a huge amount of value from these youngsters who are technology confident and who are technology savvy to give me more output. And with that output, I'm also incurring a very low cost. Because of which, in today's times, if you are more than 50 and not technology savvy or not in tune with the current trends, you find it difficult to find a job. Now, that is today at the age of 50. Now, what do you think will happen to the current generation when they grow up and become older in life? This age, which has come down from 65 years to 60 years to 50 years, will come down even further. And by the time this current generation reaches the age of 40 or 45 years, they will no longer be in a position to continue in their job. We've already seen this pandemic has come out with a situation where people are now talking about result orientation. How many people are comfortable with result oriented activities or target based performances? So things are changing so fast that by the time the current generation grows up, 40-45 years is their employment period max. We are already seeing examples where people are getting burnt out. We are already seeing examples where people are getting so frustrated with the employment scenario that they're saying, I just can't be comfortable in the job scenario. I want to do something on my own. And the other side is there have been a lot of retrenchments, and these retrenchments, once they happen, some people may find an alternate employment, but many people find it difficult. So what do you do? What is the alternate? Think entrepreneurially. Think in the way the new age wants you to think. And how do we do that? So at Flame University, we have a beautiful ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, we help the students think entrepreneurially, think for the new age. And there are so many entrepreneurial initiatives that are introduced on campus. Some are part of the curriculum, some are optional, some are even open to outsiders. So just to give you a glimpse, these are products actually made by students. And then we have a grand showcase day. On this day, there's a big kind of a exposition. In that expo, the students really get a sense of pride to share what they have created, and they get inputs and feedback from veterans, both from the campus, that is senior faculty members, and also entrepreneurs who we invite to help and encourage the students. So there are so many innovative products that they come out with. They actually make them and they actually demonstrate them, and they're also permitted to sell them to the customers if they want to. So look at some of these, quite innovative for their age, and all of them were made with very little resources available to them. Spinal correction. I mean, today, because of computers, because of IT, because of the new way of working, sitting in a chair and continuously working, medical science says that spinal problems are the most common problems nowadays. So students came out with the spinal correction chair, and we have an entrepreneur right here on screen who came and judged and gave them inputs. So a lot of entrepreneurs keep visiting. This particular entrepreneur is into medical technology, and again sharing inputs from the entrepreneurial world with the students. Lots of them. So these are the events that we do on campus, and that's how we develop the entrepreneurial mindset. So in short, as an entrepreneur, life is fun. We are always optimistic. We are always looking at possibilities. We are always looking at solutions with whatever limited resources we have, with whatever limited networks we have, be it frugal innovation or otherwise. We are always optimistic and look forward that something wonderful is always going to happen. So that's it from me. I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Bharat sir. Uh, that was a great presentation, and I'm sure, like I told the in the beginning to the audience, that the way in which that's perhaps why the students find you, uh, so you're one of the most loved faculty here on campus. So yeah. Uh, so guys, keep your questions coming on and on. We've got a few here. I'll just shoot off some of the questions. Give me a minute, sir. Yeah. So, uh, right. So, Bharat sir, there's a question from your, Amarnath Karan, who's asking that do does entrepreneurship needs to be technology, or could it be social or system based? So,
Okay. There was a time when people used to put entrepreneurship in baskets. Those
right,
days are gone. We all know CSR is now mandatory, but
right,
mandatory or not, people have become socially conscious. At the same time, there was a time when people said, without technology, development will not happen. But entrepreneurs have shown time and again that to create development, it is not compulsory, it is not mandatory to use technology. So I would say that entrepreneurship need not necessarily be technology oriented, but definitely whatever entrepreneurial venture you do, please do not ignore the social element. People want to get associated with a social element, with your story, and the better the story you have, the faster you will become successful. So don't try to limit yourself, just go into the flow. And as you keep growing, as you keep building, create partnerships along the way, and keep expanding and scaling your venture so that you can create not just financial gain for yourself, but more importantly, you must focus on the social impact that your venture creates on the people around you.
right. Yeah, sure. That's a good thought, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs that we see, and especially the younger generation of entrepreneurs here, most of them have this social part embedded into their business models as well. So yeah. One more very interesting question, sir, and this I think is quite critical, and it's coming from Dr. Sanjeev Chaturvedi, who is the advisor India Uzbekistan Entrepreneurship Development Center. So welcome to this webinar, sir. And he's asking, what are the three important qualities of a successful entrepreneurs? I think
Yeah, very interesting question. I will say the first one, first quality to become a successful entrepreneur is a mindset. And I firmly believe that if you have the right mindset, if you have a mindset which is solution oriented, a lot of things can be achieved. So first and the most important is having an entrepreneurial mindset. Second is that your uh, current situation will always have limitations. So you should always be open to form partnerships, tie-ups, collaborations, cooperations, and so on. So always be open for being in a position to uh, create partnerships along the way. Don't try to do everything yourself. And third is whatever venture you do, think long term, think how your venture is going to influence and benefit the society at large. Don't be narrow minded and say, I want the profits for myself. Gone are those days. People are now more socially inclined, and the more I mean, we all know that statement, help enough other people to achieve what they want to get what you want. So the more you think of the long term, the more you think of creating social impact for the benefit of the society at large, the faster and easier you will become successful. So those are the three qualities.
right. Interesting. Thank you. I think very one of the other important qualities is like we see in most successful entrepreneurs is a can-do attitude. There's a question by Mr. Bharat Pathak on that, and he's asking us if you can tell us something about a can-do execution. That's how do you get that?
You can only get that by doing it.
Right.
So there's a saying that entrepreneurship cannot be taught in the classroom. I will say yes and no. Uh, the principles need to be discussed, but less you talk about it, the better. The more you go into action, the faster you go into action, the earlier you go into action, the better it is for you. Anything you do for the first time, you are always in a comfort zone. But remember one thing, when you're in a comfort zone, you will never grow much. So how do you come out of the comfort zone? It's very difficult if you don't have the support, if you don't reach out for support.
Mm.
So the comfort zone is then bordered by the fear zone. So why do people not want to get out of the comfort zone? Because they fear certain things, including psychological rebuttal and all that. So the earlier you are able to say that, yes, I will do it. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I want to do it. And you step out of your comfort zone into the fear zone and go beyond the fear zone. That can do will happen only when you actually go into action. No amount of talking, no amount of psychological counseling, no amount of kind of comforts, or no amount of facilities or resources being provided to you will help you get out of this situation. So the only can do is go jump into the deep sea with, of course, guidance and safety measures. And unless you go into action, you will never be able to do.
Right. So it's like something like I heard one of the speakers talking in some of the earlier masterclass that I can't teach you swimming if we sit in a classroom. I have
True.
to push you into the pool. Although I may tell you that this is how you do the freestyle stroke and so on and so forth, but ultimately you have to go in the water yourself.
Absolutely.
So bang on, sir. I think there's a very similar question. You answered a bit of it in the previous answer, but Janvi wants to know how do you overcome procrastination and lack of motivation? And many of people also have some self doubt.
Yeah. So what happens is this is where I will say uh, when we say think entrepreneurially, we are talking about solutions, we are talking about possibilities, and we are not just talking, we are going into action. So action cures fear. Likewise, if you have procrastination, simple technique is set some target with which you are emotionally connected, and then that emotional connect will drive you to action. If you are not able to do it yourself, get hold of a friend, enter into partnerships with like-minded people or people whom you trust, so that the team will go into action. One more thing is put yourself into a compulsory situation, and when it becomes mandatory for you to do certain things, you have no choice but to do it. So that's how you get out of your comfort zone, you get out of your chair, get out of your sofa, and go into action and overcome procrastination. So the only answer to your question is action.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing that propels us or helps us to move forward.
Very true. And in
There's
fact,
one.
Neeraj, sir, one more extension of that is entrepreneurs. When we say develop an entrepreneur mindset, one of the qualities of the entrepreneur is, if you notice people around you, entrepreneur is somebody who will never sit idle. They're always doing something or the other, always inquisitive, always moving around, always fidgety, always meeting people, always into the thick of the action.
I guess that's something that I have noticed now that you say this, but also it's a little. Uh, you start wondering that how is it? Is it something that's inbuilt in those people, or does it come over time?
It can be created. I mean, I've seen many people who have transformed themselves. So many of these qualities can be created once you accept the fact that you want to evolve and change.
That's critical. The other this is a very common question which everyone wants to ask is what are those common mistakes that one needs to avoid as an entrepreneur when you start something new?
Okay, I will answer it slightly differently. I will say when you ask about common mistakes, so what you're actually asking is what are the risks of failure? So if you allow me to rephrase this question, how do we overcome the risks so that we don't make mistakes or we don't fail? Well, for that, I have a very simple answer. Uh, I will say, let us redefine and understand what is risk. Risk is nothing but lack of homework. If you have not done your homework, you are risking yourself. So if you're a student, I believe that was a student asking that question. So if you're a student, what would happen if you were to go for an exam without preparing for it? But if you were to prepare for it and then go for the exam, what would happen? Your mindset would be completely different, right? So likewise, when you're talking about entrepreneurship, the more detail you go, the more clarity you have, the more homework you do, the more you reach out, the more you work on creating your prototype or your pilot, the more you interact with potential customers and get their feedback, and then incorporate that feedback into your solution. So in short, the more detailing you do, the more ground action that you do, all those so-called mistakes will get minimized, will get reduced, and your probability of success becomes better. So in entrepreneurship, there's no such thing as mistake. In business, in management, there's no such thing as the right solution. It's a decision taken which is appropriate at that point. So don't worry and don't get bogged down by the word mistake or failure. Just keep going, and so long as you're thinking long term, so long as you are willing to do the homework, you will never face these situations.
Yes, I think that's well well said and well taken as well. Maybe a couple of questions we might take, being very mindful of the time. We have about 5 odd minutes left. I'll take one question from the audience. I think Vandana is wanting to understand how is some tips on how do you, as a professional, go about growing your business, and especially how do you use marketing and there to grow your business.
Right. Now, whether we like it or not, if you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. You may have the best of products created in your laboratory or on a pilot scale. But if the outside world, if your customer, potential customer segment is not aware of your product, you don't have a venture at all, you don't have a business at all. So whether you like it or not, marketing is the most important. Now, again, the Indian education system, there are certain streams of education which do not have marketing at all in their syllabus, in their curriculum. So there, I'm not saying you go and change the curriculum. What I'm saying is participate in extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities, which expose you to interacting with people, where you get an opportunity to go and sell something. I am strongly advocating to each and every person, whether you are a student or whether you are a senior person, the skill of selling is something that you must learn whether you like it or not. What do you do when you apply for a job interview? If you look at it from a broader perspective, you are actually marketing yourself. So marketing is something that you have to live with. You cannot avoid it. You have to do it. The earlier you learn it, the better. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, okay, I recognize myself, I recognize my limitations. I may be good at a particular domain. I may be good at technology. By nature, I may be a quiet person. I may not be an extrovert. I may not be an ideal marketing person. What do I do? So the second option is that, can you find a partner who is good at marketing? So we recognize our limitations, and we try to complement them by creating a founding team where the co-founder will bring in skills and resources which you don't have. So that's the second method. Third method is, if you're an engineer and asking that question, also ask yourself, as an engineer, what are you creating? I deal with a lot of engineers, and invariably I find that because they understand domain, they like to create a lot of stuff. They innovate, they keep creating. And many times I'm tempted to ask them this question: why have you created it? So when you convert it to the entrepreneurial context, your product that you are intending to launch into the market, is it a nice to have product or is it a must have product? If it is a nice to have product, it means you have created it because you wanted to create it. And then you have to go out and look for customers who are willing to buy it at a price. Now, if that is the case, you have to spend a lot of time, effort, and money on marketing. But if you have a must have product, what you are doing is you have identified a problem in the market and you have come out with a solution where you are creating benefits for the customers to solve their problems. And when you create a product from that perspective, you create what we call as a must have product. Or the other way of a must have product is that regulations keep changing. If something becomes mandatory under a regulation, then people have no choice but to use that product or solution. So if you have a must have product, your marketing effort goes down. So there are different ways by which you can overcome marketing requirements. I've just given you a glimpse of 3 of them. There are a few more, but for the shortage of time, I'm limiting myself to 3.
Thank you. Sir, I think we're just about moving away from 7 o'clock. So I'm going to, but I think there's one question which comes to my mind looking at, the kind of audience that we would be having here in this webinar is that, uh, there are people who want to get into corporates. And do you think that this entrepreneurial mindset development does that help them because I'm going to do a job, not start a business? So should I have it or should I not have
I did mention that companies are no longer looking for loyal people. They are looking for people who are result oriented. Now, when I give you a work from home scenario and I say you do whatever you want to, I want the end result. Company in this situation is forcing you to think differently and deliver. So this is just the beginning. Any company will definitely enjoy to have employees who are entrepreneurially oriented. For that matter, those who are entrepreneurially oriented are the people who rise faster in the organization to become business heads, SBU heads, and they also become CEOs. At the same time, companies are now open in India in particular to the concept of what we call as corporate entrepreneurship. So employees within the organization are encouraged to come out with their own ideas. And if the idea catches the attention of the senior management, they give you the full freedom and the budget and the staff and the infrastructure to go ahead and develop your idea,
it?
convert it into a product and a solution, go launch it in the market under the company umbrella. So this entrepreneurial thinking that you bring with you in a job situation is a very, very treasured skill that you bring with you in the employment. And it is
Right.
these people only who will be picked up and will rise to the top much faster.
Brilliant. Thank you, sir. I think that's all the time that we have for the questions. But again, on behalf of all of us who heard you, uh, thank you for that lovely presentation. Some great videos which we got some great insight. So once again, from all of us, thank you so much for for taking the time out and talking about developing an entrepreneurial mindset. I'll hand this over now to my colleague Vakya for the closing remarks. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Professor Damani. Thank you so much, Professor Neeraj, for coming and joining us today and giving us a beautiful insight on what an entrepreneurial, mindset should be too. And I'm sure students have had a great interactive session, understanding and putting in more questions to Professor Bharat Damani. I will also share in the email ID to which you can post in any other questions if you're interested. I'm sure Professor Bharat Damani will be able to answer all of them, taking out time from his busy schedule of taking classes. So just before you guys leave, I want you to invite you for the next masterclass that we're conducting on value investing for the next generation of finance enthusiasts. It's being taken by Professor Sujoy Joshi, who's a faculty at finance. He's a chartered accountant too, and he's from IIM Ahmedabad, an alum of IIM Ahmedabad. So looking forward to see you guys. We're going to conduct this session on the 8th of January, which is the next Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Thank you so very much, Professor Bharat Damani. Thank you for giving us your time and your intellectual intellect to share across. And Professor Neeraj, again, thank you for hosting this session. It is always a pleasure to meet all of you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe and goodbye.